Today we have Michelle and Sean Kanan, the couple behind the inspiring new book, Way of the Cobra Couples. Known for the transformative Cobra principles, Sean developed this powerful framework to empower individuals through self discipline, personal growth, and resilience. In their latest book, Michelle and Sean have adapted these principles to help people focus on building strong, fulfilling relationships. Join us as we dive into their personal journey, the insights they've gained, and how the Cobra principles can help to create deeper, more meaningful connections. Sean and Michelle Kanan up next. Sean and Michelle Kanan, welcome to the show. So happy to have both of you.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll just go right into it. Your new book, The Way of the Cobra Couples, expands the way of the Cobra philosophy into relationships, sharing your insights and strategies that have strengthened your partnership both personally and professionally. What inspired you to focus on the couples this time, and why do you think it's such an important topic today?
Well, we had a lot of success with Way of the Cobra and Welcome to the Kumite. And Michelle and I knew we wanted to collaborate on something again as writers. And we said, what if we take the strategies and the philosophy that worked so well in the first two books and applied them to relationships? And of course, a relationship necessitates having two people, two voices. And that's what's unique in this book opposed to the previous two. For those people that aren't familiar with Cobra, it's an acronym formed from the words character, optimization, balance, respect, and abundance.
Yes.
And we felt it was important because we've been fortunate that we have had a very successful relationship in Hollywood, which is not the easiest place to have one.
And everyone asks us for advice. And so we just thought, hey, let's just put it down on paper so everybody can read it.
Right.
And just to remind everyone, how long have you been married for?
We've been together 15 years and married for 13.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
And the book isn't just for people that are in relationships. It's also for people that are single and are tired of spinning their wheels, tired of wondering, why do I keep meeting somebody? It seems like there's a connection. And then 3 weeks later, I'm still looking.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is very much a book for people that are looking to turbocharge their existing relationship or are really ready to find the one.
Okay, wow. Because in this book, each chapter represents a belt level of mastering relationships. So which belt level was the most challenging for the two of you to master personally, and why? Or maybe there wasn't one.
So one of the things and why we kind of struggle with that question, we've been asked that a lot, is because this isn't like an advice book. It's kind of a how-to, we did it. So our philosophy has really been not to seek out what's wrong with your relationship and fix it. Our philosophy is seek out what's right in your relationship and lean into it. Show up for your relationship every single day with a happy, positive attitude of why you got together in the first place and build on that, because everybody's always happy in the beginning. It's hard to say always and never, but that's the truth of the matter. A relationship always starts out happy in a loving place. So if you can always go back to it, you always have that feeling. So for us, we really just kind of dissected why and what are the components that we use every day to stay happy and to stay together. So we gave some really, common sense advice tools in the book. Like we have the day meter, because, for us, I think the key to any relationship is communication.
Mm-hmm.
So we go into communication a lot because, one of the things that I always heard from my friends is that, they would tell me, my husband's always saying, well, I'm not a mind reader, but he should know that, I like this on this day and I like my coffee this way. And it occurred to me that communicating through the Psychic Friends Network in a relationship is not the best way to go, that you really do have to spell things out because, men and women are different. Partners are different. And, even in same-sex couples, you're different people, right? And you come from different places. And at any given moment, you're thinking something different. So you have to be able to express yourself. And I think a lot of times people get hung up in, well, I shouldn't say anything, Or, I think that there was that, my kids really laughed about something when Sean and I first met.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together. We're together all the time, like more than most people. And there's things like, after you eat, like if you drink soda or something like that, like you have to burp.
Are you literally going to start talking about farting?
No, I would leave because I was like, oh my God, I don't want him to know it. And they're like, Mom, he knows you pee. And I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't have to know. So I would leave. And, because just that feeling of, I don't want to, say these things, or I don't want to express this because I'm afraid that he would judge me.
Yeah.
And Sean has proven to me over and over again, he doesn't judge me. He sees me as a partner. And, a lot of times the problems that you have when you really sit down and look at them are your own problems. So we gave tools to drill down to see the relationship rule book to say, this is what I'm comfortable with. When you start a rule book and you say, like, these are the rules, like, obviously we can't date other people.
Right.
Like rule number one. So, or maybe you can, and you just define the terms. So when you start having that conversation that's easy, it leads into the comfort of being able to say, this is what I am. So we then kind of divided out and went into, well, who are you? Like, really, who are you presenting as? And that is our origin story. And, we have a little theatrics in our family because we're in the entertainment industry. And, I always like to look at Sean as the hero in the relationship. And so I was like, let's tell your hero a story, which is your origin story. So, it's kind of a snapshot of who you are and how you're presenting. And, Sean likes to say that, if you're presenting as I want to have a family and I want to be settled down, but you're going to Vegas with your buddies and, you're still on the dating apps, like, you're not presenting. If that's what you want, then present, this is what I want. But if you present as a domesticated kitty, you're going to be expected to use a litter box, and you're not going to be happy about it. So just save everybody's time and be authentic in who you are and what you're looking for, and take away the right and the wrong of rejection, where it's not always rejection. It's more like, hey, we're not compatible.
Exactly. Well said. So, Michelle, what other unique perspective did you bring to Way of the Cobras that real readers might not expect?
When Sean and I met, I had 4 teenagers, and Sean had one. He had a 10-year-old, and we really talk about how that worked, and that my 4 teenagers had a front row seat to our new relationship, and we talk about it. And we also had issues with custody battles and addiction and high school and bullying and just the gamut. And Sean being karate's bad boy and a daytime heartthrob, like that sort of threw some things in the mix that were difficult to navigate. But we tell everybody how we did it and what we really wanted to do. Many co-authors write their book and they just kind of put it in the book in words on pages. And in Way of the Cobra, the feedback we got was, I was a PTA mom. And so the PTA newsletter has bullet points and has bolds and different fonts for things that are important. And that's kind of how we did A Way of the Cobra, because we wanted it to be an easy read. We wanted people to see it, to not just get the message, but also get the character and to feel like it's eye candy. But then at the end of it, feel like they got something, and it really was successful. So we applied the same thing to couples, but we decided that we would, when each of us were speaking, we'd use different fonts and we'd put them in boxes. So what Sean's saying and what I'm saying. And there's things that we agree on, a lot of it, but there's things that we had different perspectives on. Like there's a chapter on the friend zone, getting slammed in the friend zone. And Sean gives his take from a guy's perspective, and I give my take from a girl's perspective.
Yeah. Well, speaking about heartthrob for a second, Sean, you've you've faced many high pressure moments in Hollywood. Did any of those experiences inspire the lessons in the book?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons, journeys that I've had in my time in Hollywood has been the journey of self-discovery and self-awareness, who I really am. And when you really understand who you are and feel comfortable in your skin, you are much better suited to slip on the skin of another person in a character. Okay. So my journey to become more comfortable with who I am has made me a better actor. And the reason I point that out is, and we say in the beginning of the book, look, if you're looking for a relationship with somebody else, know who you are first. Before you're ready to potentially merge your life with another human being. I'm not saying that, during the course of a relationship, you don't have self-discovery. Of course you do. That's one of the magical things about being in a relationship. I talk a lot about how I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, but Jerry Maguire did a lot of damage to the dating world, man, and relationships, because you don't need someone else to complete you. What you need is someone who facilitates an environment where you can be the best version of yourself. And in being that best version of yourself, which is sometimes messy, and I say, everybody's relationship is messy. You acquire self-awareness, and that's one of the benefits of being in a relationship. There are certain aspects of who we are, I believe, as human beings that necessitate having someone who is bearing witness to your life as a partner that allows parts of who you are to emerge for you to learn from.
Right. And also I think that, we all do thought experiments in our head about, who we are or what we want to be, and we take chances, and having a partner helps to anchor you to your magnetic north, because they know you. They see you every day, and they've seen you go through the trials and tribulations, and they know where all the bodies are buried, and they still have this safe space for you to know, to give you the insight of saying, hey, don't step on that, because you're not going to like it. Remember when you did this? And, that's something that we wanted to impart, because when we were talking about doing this book, we, I had all the kids that we all talked to. They're all grown now. And we use them as sounding boards, because, they're the new generation. The younger ones were like, why would you do a relationship book? Like, I don't even believe in marriage. It's just a piece of paper. It's silly. And we were like, what? Like, wait. And so we found ourselves defending the institution of a relationship, of being committed to a person. And that's, a lot of that is in the book, that, there's value, no one's an island. Like, okay, maybe there's a fringe few that are meant to be alone. But for the most part, humans are social beings.
One of the things we do is address certain, I don't know if fallacies is the right word, or preconceptions. Like, some people say, well, monogamy isn't natural. And I say, well, neither is toilet paper, and that's working out pretty well for all of us too. So, and then I actually talk about how there are a number of animals in the animal kingdom which are monogamous. But the point is, this book is not a treatise in defense of marriage, okay, or even relationships. It's not. If you're happy being single, God bless you. Be happy. But and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you are looking for a relationship, then I think that there's certain things that we're going to share with you that are going to help you have a happier one. One of them is the myth that love conquers all. I don't believe that love does conquer all. You can be in love with somebody, but if you're not headed, your ships aren't headed in the same direction, the relationship's not going to work. I mean, if one person wants to be a research scientist in New York and the other wants to be a journalist in Los Angeles, and you're going to try and you're living different lives.
Yeah.
And that is antithetical to having a unified life as a couple. Maybe it lasts for a while, but ultimately I don't think it's going to work. So,
I mean, the thing is that you can make it work, now with Zoom and everything.
You can make it work for short periods of time.
Yeah.
You can't make it work as an ongoing solution. It's not viable. It's not.
Yeah. I think I would agree with that. But we talked about values. Let's talk about, let's dive right into the Cobra philosophy, because I think a lot of people, that would help a lot of people. So if And actually, why don't we talk about the principles, the C, O, B, R, and A. But in terms of the philosophy of the Cobra, why? Because some people do feel stuck. They get stuck or overwhelmed in relationships. Where do they start? And what would you suggest and how they start?
I think you kind of have to do a little bit of a reset. Like being in a relationship for a long time, you kind of get on autopilot.
Yeah.
You everything about it and you lose the wonderment. But you can get it back. And
Yeah.
for me, having a couple that's in apathy is a lot easier to fix than a couple that is at odds because and we talk about this in the book, but if you're at a point where you were at odds and now you don't talk anymore, that's kind of scary because it means you don't care anymore and you're consciously uncoupling. So you have to really there do some we talk about doing some radical moves. Like there's a whole section on fighting and why it's important and why and there's things that you have to talk about. And a lot of times apathy comes from not showing up. And so things will happen, things will be busy. And, one of the best things that I do is I have photos around my house. I have photo albums. Like we all have this little device that carries all of our memories in it now. And you have to go and scroll back through them when you start feeling that apathy and the comfortability, and you have to take action and do things like there's oftentimes like Sean will show up and he'll just like start looking at me, and I start to look around and I'm like, why is he looking at me? Is there something on my face? And he's just looking at me and much like he is now. And I'm like, wait. And then he's like, I just want to look at you. And, there's this other story that he has this really macho friend and he asked us to come stay with him because he lives in another state. And he's like, just come. So, I was like, okay, fine. So we finally go and we get to his house and it's like 11 o'clock at night. And he goes, here, I have this prepared. It was not a bedroom. It was 2 couches in his living room. And we were like,
Oh,
so we slept on the couch, and in the morning he came down and we were sleeping, but we were holding hands across the couch. And he made fun of us. And in that moment, it was kind of like I had like my knee jerk reaction was to go to be like, oh, well, yeah, just kidding. But I thought about it and it really stuck with me because, people make fun of you for being in love and they tease you, and teasing goes into making fun. And you have to realize that you have to be able to defend your relationship. And so, I talk about Sean like I'm a schoolgirl because, I'm enamored with him and I still am. It's been 15 years, but I still am. And I defend that, and people like talk about it. And I can't tell you how many people say to me, what's great about Sean? When you're not around, the way he talks about you,
yeah.
and it's not, it's like you guys just met. He's so in love with you and it's so enamored. And, it's like that's our reality. And if you do that and you start doing that with your partner that you've been with forever, it really reignites things because they start intruding in your thoughts, much like when you first met.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah. Very good point. And that talks a lot about respect that you have for one another as well. So I want to talk about that for a second. What does true respect mean in the context of self-growth and relationships?
I think respect starts with yourself. Okay. People will largely treat you the way they see you treat yourself. That's the first thing. Respect for your partner has to do with, like Michelle said, how you speak about them when they're not there, how you speak about them when they are there with other people, respecting the parameters and boundaries of the relationship. What Michelle mentioned, the relationship rule book, which isn't necessarily a physical, actual rule book, but it's just kind of, the unwritten rules that you have. But, generally everybody knows the rules in their relationship. When they transgress them, it's not because it wasn't clear. In the beginning, things aren't clear. In the beginning, I always use this analogy, like, your new wife tells you, come straight home after work. And the husband says, absolutely. And he stops to pick up the mail at the P.O. box. And he tells her that. And she says, you lied to me. You didn't come straight home. And he's like, what are you talking about? I stopped and got the mail and came right home. Now, did he lie? He didn't give an accurate picture technically, but you have to decide what are the semantics and what is the expectation. And that's an issue of, it's not somebody using malice and thoughtlessness.
Mhm.
It needs a clarification of what
Mhm.
the description is
What
of
the
the vernacular.
Yeah.
And then once you get that settled, you both know what it is, and those things generally don't happen again. And,
But
and, and bringing it back around to respect, by communication and clarification and specificity, it enhances the ability to be respectful, I think.
Right. And I think another thing for respect is that in the book, we have this chapter called your connection katas. And it tells you what your connection form is and how you give love and how you receive love. And so for us, I'm very digital. So like I receive things like if you send me something, like if you text me, like it's very impactful for me. But like telling me something or reading me out, like it just kind of words don't really hit me. I mean, it's hard because I have ADD, so it's hard for me. So if it's in writing, like I can refer back to it and it's very impactful. So respecting that about me and not taking it as a slight, like, well, I told you that, you should just know. Like that little argument, that's respectful. Like it's defining who you are and respecting, giving me the space to do that. And like with Sean, he's very verbal and he's very visual.
Yeah.
And so I realized like I don't communicate that way, but I do for him. And because I respect his process and I want him to feel understood and heard in our relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. If a reader implements even one idea from your book, how do you hope their life will change?
I think that their life will become deliberate. They'll get some control. And
That's a good thing to distill it down to. Intentional.
yeah. And people who feel that they have some intention over their life, they're able to build on that and build confidence and, feel positive. And, I think that there's a lot of negativity in the world. And I think that our book is promoting positivity.
I think in life, we become very adept at compartmentalizing things. And it's important. That's a valuable skill in modern day life. But I think it's also a bit of a delusion because I believe everything is holistic. I believe everything is integrated. And so if you take one thing from our book and put it into practice, I think you're going to find that it's going to permeate into different areas of your life. And before you know it, implementing that one thing is not improving only the direct result of that one action. It's going to start to improve all sorts of ancillary areas of your life that you might not have expected, which in turn is going to geometrically help other areas of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. True. Very true. So what are the top 5 things that people should know from your perspective about relationships?
I think the first thing that people should know is that relationships are messy. People might look at our life and say, wow, look at these two, they're blah, 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 living in Hollywood. He's on TV. She's a director. Listen, let me tell you something. Everybody's life is messy. It comes in different flavors and colors, but it's all in the same jungle, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing, that there is no perfect, okay? But in the quest for achieving perfection, you might just catch excellence along the way. The other thing is that I wish I said that. It wasn't me. It was Joe McCart. Yeah, I got to give him credit. I'm a huge proponent. I have a TEDx speech coming out in a couple of weeks, and the central focus on it is about not concentrating on results if you want them, but focusing on the process to achieve the results, which is a combination of habits and actions. And it seems like it's oxymoronic to ignore results if you want them. But if you stay focused on the process and not the results, then the results really manifest. And
Yeah.
then, and the one other thing, and I don't want to digress too far, but I talk about in this TEDx that maybe the strategy for having a meaningfully happy life and a successful life isn't so much about becoming something, because in our Western society, we are groomed from the time we're young to become successful, become all this stuff. It's about unbecoming, about getting rid of a lot of the stuff that, we take on through society and just sort of getting back to who you really are, self-awareness.
Wow. Yeah, very true. Okay. I have one last question for you guys. If you could give couples just one piece of advice today to strengthen their relationships today, because a lot of people, it's around Christmas time and a lot of people are stressed around this time. So a lot of things come out during relationships. A lot of people are very vocal. What piece of advice would you give to help strengthen that relationship today?
I would say focus on the positivity. Look for the fun in the relationship. Look for the fun in the situation. And, nobody ever remembers that, the wrapping paper was too short or they got the wrong gift or whatever. Make it fun for us for the holidays. We have just our immediate family is 12 people. So we gamify it. We sit around and play games. It's not like, okay, we got to show up. We got to get this meal done. Like we had takeout for
For Thanksgiving,
because
we were in production.
yeah, because it's not about the food. It's about the family
connection.
So, and my kids now have significant others and they have to go to their family and they dread it. Because when they come to my house, it's a game and, we have fun and we laugh and we talk about.
I'm going to go kill our animals for a second. Give me 1 second.
I was just wondering, what is that? No.
So, just have a sense of humor. There's nothing.
See, life's messy.
There's nothing.
That's right.
Important. And, that at the end of the day, what's important is laughing and sharing memories together. And you can't do that if you're worrying about the tablecloth has a wrinkle in it or, somebody's late or, if you create this open space where everybody can just be.
Yeah.
Then, and you play to everybody's strengths, I like to set the bar. I kind of, instead of setting it high or low, I just set it down. And if you choose to pick it up with me, I'm happy to walk with you and carry it. But I'm not going to work harder than anybody else. And I'm also not going to force people to be something or do something that they're not. So I just create an open space where I don't judge. I don't give advice. If somebody asks me, then I say, okay, you want my opinion? Here's my opinion, but I don't offer it. So I think that goes a long way in relationships and especially during the holidays. And to remember everybody's unplugging. And, when people get tense and they start to, get all riled up, you just have to look at them and say, this is our time to unplug. We can leave all of that, pick it up after the first of the year. Don't waste your time.
I said that was my last question. I have one more because So what's next for the series? Do you guys envision this becoming a movement for couples worldwide?
I think it already is becoming a movement, the whole way of the Cobra concept, the dojo, as we call it. There are people from all over the world that
Mm-hmm.
write to me and Michelle, and in person, we see them occasionally and they tell us that it's had a profound effect on their life. And so it's had a profound effect on my life and our life.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've said from the very beginning of the book is I'm here to learn right along with you,
Right.
not just sort of preach from the mountaintop.
Right.
So it has had such a profound effect on my life that I can't envision not having it continue to be. I don't know what incarnation that's going to look like next.
Yeah.
Michelle did tell me she'd kill me if I propose another book in the next year. But I also am sure that at some point there's going to be another one. I don't know what that book's going to be, but I'm very attached and committed to this framework that we've created.
Yeah, I mean, we live it every day. So yeah, of course. We have a website, and on our website we have we also do coaching. So we on our website you can sign up for coaching. We have seminars. We really care about people, and we want people to
Right.
to hear it from us. And
And
if they're struggling, we can help. We're not there. I should mention we're not therapists, and we're not here to solve deep-seated psychological problems. We're coaches. We're here to say, tell us what's going on that's going right. And then we'll tell you how to make that better. Like, everybody, it really is kind of a strange thing when you're in a place where you're not doing well. If you focus on the things that are doing well, suddenly it kind of just resolves itself. And, yeah, there's money problems and whatever, but for some reason, everybody that's come to us and said, oh, we're having money problems and we can't, we're like, what do you have right? Well, I love my wife. Okay, great. So let's focus on that. And then suddenly they become this sunny disposition. And like a month later, they're like, I got a raise. It's so crazy. I
it's the
wasn't
law of
gonna
vibration.
It is. It's funny how things just work out. The universe has a way of working.
Listen,
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Michelle and Sean, I want to thank you, first of all, for your authenticity. It comes right through. And I'm sure that this interview will benefit many, many listeners and people who are watching around the world. Thank you so much for being here today.
thank you, Jackie. We appreciate it. And please go get the book. It's not because we need the money and we're trying to hawk books. It'll help you. Trust me. On Amazon, you can get it at waythecobra.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jackie. Take care of yourself.
You too. A heartfelt thank you to Michelle and Sean Kanan for sharing their journey, their wisdom, and how the Cobra principles can guide us towards stronger relationships and greater fulfillment. If this conversation resonated with you, please don't forget to share it and join us next time as we continue exploring the many ways to create a life of happiness and purpose. Wishing you and your families Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. See you next time.